Thank you, first of all, for having me, Melek, and I wanted to point out that my hairstyle is in tribute to Melek. This is not natural. She's the curly girl of my dreams. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the evolution of a global niche, and that's going to include the dream of belonging, which I think that we all share, and how, for me, playing with cultural identity as it's formed through culture, playing with cultural identity has helped me achieve a new sense of myself, and also allowed me to evolve this concept and community that can actually be used by all of us to find success, no matter who we are. Let's see. That's a map of my Facebook contacts. If you look at that map, can you tell where in the world I belong? I think it gets complicated, and I'm sure that if you mapped your own Facebook contacts and your own Twitter contacts and even just your contact list in your address book, you would be all over the map too. And that's just the reality of the life that we lead today. If we dream of belonging, it's not just about fitting in, it's about being in the right place with the right people, and living our ideal life and our ideal lifestyle, having a livelihood that allows us to do what we love, and do something that actually work that feels like play. And that, to me, is actually the work that I do. There's a theme here tonight about playing, and my whole presentation is about work. So I'd just like to explain work and play to me are actually the same thing, and actually, to me, I think that's a useful goal for everyone, to have work that they find so enjoyable that it feels like play. Also, this talk is for anyone who dreams of a life or a community that is beyond what surrounds them right now. My story begins in Southeast Asia. I lived there for 5 years in the 1990s and had a sort of typically disenfranchised experience. I lost my voice. And as a writer, to lose my voice, it was basically shut down the work that I do. If I couldn't make myself understood, I wasn't able to do what it is I do. I also didn't understand at all what was going on around me. And so what actually saved me was play. I started pursuing my pastimes, things that actually were entertaining to me. And that happened to be things that put into context what I was experiencing. One of the things that I loved to do was read historical travelogue of other Western women who faced the challenges of life in that particular jungle. And I actually discovered what it felt like to wear a corset in tropical heat when I was an extra in a film called Anna and the King, which was about Anna Leon Owens and the King of Siam with Jodie Foster and Chow Yun-fat. And basically, Jodie, being the star of the show, got a whole outfit. It was 1865, I think, was the time period of the movie. And because she's the star, she got to wear something that was tailored for the weather, whereas the rest of us wore period costumes sent from London that were actually what people wore in those days. And it really gave me a good insight into what it was like to be sort of a pioneering woman in that part of the world, but burdened with sort of the clothing and all the expectations of where I had come from. And to me, wearing the corset and all of those hoop skirts, and there was a little bustle on the back to make sure that the skirt went out, from the back. I mean, it was really quite a getup, and it really drove home to me that we are actually always carrying with us, no matter where we go, all of these things that are not necessarily compatible with where we happen to be. And it's really up to us to figure out how to survive that. I also realized that I was drawn to crossroads and places where time meshes and opposites collide and cultures fuse. So in pursuing some of that stuff, I started understanding a little bit more about my own interests. I moved to Turkey in 2003 with my Turkish husband, and my plan was to write my own Asian complaint travelogue. I was going to tell like all this horrible stuff, like being abandoned on a snake-infested island, out of gas and drifting in a pirate-filled water. And these aren't metaphors, these really happened. But Turkey kidnapped me instead. And that isn't a metaphor. Sorry, that is a metaphor. No, I was not kidnapped in Turkey. That's a metaphor. I found my theoretical home here, actually, when with another woman, I created an anthology called Tales from the Expat Harem, which was a collection of tales by foreign women in modern Turkey. And the idea of the Expat Harem itself actually made a lot of sense to me because we too had a lot in common with those foreign women who populated the Sultan's harem. And the liminal state of Turkey itself actually gave me a lot of instruction about how to survive and thrive in a liminal state, sort of limbo, neither here nor there. So it also showed me how you could be embedded in a place but forever alien. And that's sort of the story of my life, I think. Now that I've been outside of the US for about 15 years, and even if I go back there, the feeling that I have is going to continue. It will just be another culture that I should know more about than I do, and I'll have instincts and urges that don't match the people around me. I also discovered that I liked working at home alone, but in collaboration with a lot of other people. Because not only did I find my historical counterparts, I found my cultural peers, and they were all over the globe. We heard from 100 women in 14 nations just for the call to, for submissions. And on the book tour, we met hundreds more. And actually, there are several people in this room that I met on the book tour. Pelin, I met in DC. This is just amazing to me. I'm so happy she's here. And I realized that I was no longer alone in my limbo, even if American publishers seemed to suspect that I was. When we sent the book around, 15 New York publishing houses passed on it. They were worried that there was no audience for it. And eventually it did sell, and we have continued to prove them wrong ever since. And that's thanks to Turks, Turkophiles, expats, travelers, women, writers, Near Eastern studies people, and people like you. So Expat Harem called together a virtual community, but we had nowhere to meet. 2 years ago, I started thinking that I wanted to have an online community, a place where people could get together. We could start addressing all of those readers that we had met both on our book tour and who had come to us over the internet, and see what might be beyond the book. I also wanted to expand the circle because I knew that I wasn't just an expat woman writer in Turkey. I belonged to a lot of other communities. As you recall from my Facebook contacts, it wasn't just US Turkey, US Turkey. There were little lines going off in a lot of different ways. So I wanted to include expats everywhere, global nomads, multicultural people, immigrants, intentional travelers, men even, and basically anyone who was in cultural limbo because they would be speaking my language. I also realized that we were facing a new social order where the old bonds are not necessarily the ones that are most meaningful to us. Family, culture, nation, we're familiar with those, but actually with the rise of the social web, we've been able to connect with the people that we actually have things in common with besides those things, our interests, our worldview, our experience. And now we can find each other and we can learn from each other. Of course, that's the first thing that happened, is that what we realized was that the Expat Harem community was teaching me right away. We did a panel discussion for a podcast series and realized that we were all using our creativity to manage these hybrid, multifaceted lives that we were leading. And those were flexible skills and perspectives that we could bring to all of our endeavors. So actually, our lives' trajectories were not the liability we had always thought that they were, something to be managed, but they were actually things that put us in a better position than the average person. They were an asset. So while I was working on the Expat Harem GlobalNiche website, I was also working on my second book, which happened to be about my best friendship with a multiple personality. And that was a problem. So this community and project that had been sustaining me for 5 years suddenly was not jibing with my next work. And I had the problem of wondering if I was committing career suicide by pursuing this book that I was going to write, or if I was going to split my audience or lose them completely. Was there any way that I could transition them to both the new work that I'm doing, but also make a place in the Expat Harem world for the work that I'm about to publish? And so I started working on explaining how a cultural writer could suddenly be interested in psychological topics, and by emphasizing the identity and how it's formed through culture, and getting away from the travel focus, which it seems does not have quite so much to do with the psyche and not quite so concerned with personality as travel writing, as expat writing, as hybrid life writing. I realized that I actually did have a link there. And it was that we have multiple cultural personalities. And like any multiple personality, when we honor and care for each of those personalities, we're going to have a key to our own health and happiness. So that career problem was both addressed a personal problem that I was having, and also paved for new professional growth. So here's fusion that happened without me even looking for it, really. It helped me grow the Expat Harem brand and idea beyond the book, which is what I was looking for. When I launched Expat Harem, the Global Niche, it was about 1.5 years ago, I meant global niche as in niche for globalists, a place, our home in the world, basically. But it took about 6 months for actually the definition that I really wanted to emerge. I was looking at lifestyle design movements and also the location-independent movements, which are groups of people who are pioneering sort of the gate-jumping new paradigms that people like us, who are maybe culturally or geographically disadvantaged, really need to succeed. And also the like digital nomadic practices of being able to use all the tools that are available, all the technology, to not be limited by where you happen to be. But I also detected that there was a difference between what location-independent people were looking for and what people who were coming to me at the Global Niche, Expat Harem, the Global Niche, were looking for. And the distinction was that we weren't asking this Generation Y question, how can I live on the beach in Thailand? By running a blog. Like, that's cool and everything, but a lot of people don't want to live on the beach. That's it, and they're not trying to reduce their life to being sort of on vacation, which to me that would be. I would be on vacation and I would not enjoy that. We were actually asking a different question, and that is, people like us are asking, how can I live the life I want wherever it is I happen to be? To live and work to our capabilities, independent of our location and whatever limitations it offers. Because, you know, plenty of places in the world do not have the things we need. Maybe you're still in your hometown, or you're surrounded by people who speak a language that you're not very good at, and that could be a language of the tongue or some other kind. Or maybe your best friends or your best customers are in a time zone 10 behind you. This happens. So I realized that we were actually addressing a much more universal problem. The question of how to be okay with where we are. Because there are plenty of reasons why we are where we are. And we don't always live in the optimal place for our dreams. But it also doesn't mean that we need to defer them. I think that we can get started right now, and that's with psychic location independence. So it's not really about how can I have a job that allows me to travel the world, but how can I do what I love to do wherever I happen to be? So I'm starting to put that theory into practice with a new group. It's an educational community of psychic peers. It includes all of the people that have already joined the Expat Harem sort of juggernaut, but it also includes anybody who is, as I said in the beginning, in a place that may limit their dreams, because I think that in this day and age we have a lot of technology available to us, and a lot of people pioneering new ways to do things so that you don't have to be tethered to where you happen to be or how the people around you think. You can be different. And before I launch this, actually, it's in development. If you visit globalniche.net, just let us know you're interested, and we'll keep you posted on when it does launch. But it's based on the past year of another group that I've co-founded, which is a work group for creative entrepreneurs where we mastermind how we're building the lives that we want to lead, regardless of where we happen to be or what kind of limitations we might have. And those limitations could be even a lack of education. There are so many ways to get educated for free or very little money online right now. And we are sharing those kind of resources among ourselves. And we have a group on LinkedIn and a group on Facebook as well. But basically now I'm creating a fusion from that into the Expat Harem mission, which is to make our psychic limbo a productive state, so creating basically a global niche work group. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be sharing the kind of tools and skills that people like us need to succeed. And when I say people like us, I mean trans-global, multicultural, and dreamers of all kinds who happen to be living in a situation mismatch. Thank you very much.